Jason, you're up, and I will put some pressure on you that the show rate of this webinar has been among the highest that we've seen. So a lot of people can't wait to hear from you.
All right, well, let's crush it today. I mean, first of all, I want to say thanks for having me on. The biggest compliment you gave me was that I'm a practitioner. And that practitioner thing to me is really everything because, when you think of, majority of, you've heard the whole concept, right? Those who can't teach, and those who can't teach consult, and those who can't consult have a podcast, and those who can't have a podcast do life coaching on the side that they learn from Udemy for $30. You know what I mean? So we really pride ourselves at FBG to be true practitioners. So what that means is every single thing that we teach our clients to do, we field test ourselves. So I personally field test myself to get the kinks out. So I use the science philosophy of hypothesize, test, and pivot. So I hypothesize on what I think is going to work, and then I test it, and then we get the data back, and then we pivot and make adjustments. And once it's been field tested enough and I can put my stamp of approval on it, then we'll turn it into actual training videos and teach our clients, how to do that. So our Warrior Selling program right now is listed as number 1 in the United States, number 2 in the world, which is pretty cool. And so I want to start off by sharing this concept with you that myself and my wife, who's the president of the company as well, we're both master practitioners in what's called NeuroLinguistic Programming, or NLP. So neuro stands for brain, linguistic stands for our speech patterns. And what's been proven by science and psychology is that the way that we speak to ourselves and the way that we speak to others is a window into how we think. And how we think drives how we feel, and how we feel drives our motivations, and our motivations drive our behaviors, and our behaviors drive our results. Okay, so let's just think about that for a second. If the way that we speak is a window into how we think, and how we think ends up driving our behaviors and our results, then is it also possible to program how people think through our words? Well, it is, right? So can we have the ability to persuade people through our words to change how they think, to change how they feel about you, to therefore change their motivation, to make it more of a want to motivation versus a have to motivation, want to get on the phone with you to hear more of your pitch and your service, or versus a have to, I don't really want to do that, so I'm not going to do that, which obviously creates more of a behavior of engagement. And the result is that they get on the phone with you and you move the sale forward. So that's what really NLP is all about. Now, we all know what NLP is because we experience it every single day. So for example, anytime you've had a negative thought in your life, so as soon as March of coronavirus hit, then all of a sudden you had a thought, and your thought was, oh man, this is crazy. This is going to dramatically affect my forecast and my income. Well, as soon as that happened, that was a thought, and that thought immediately affected your feeling, and you might have had a negative emotion, which affected your motivation and behaviors and results. And so it's interesting. So that's NLP. So you ever had a negative thought, which you felt it in your body, that's NLP. If you ever had a positive thought and you affect it and you felt that in the body, like maybe you fell in love for the first time and you felt that in your body, that's NLP. So we all know what NLP is. I just have over 1,000 hours of kind of focused on studying the concepts of NLP. With that, I want everyone to learn a strategy that we do when we're using Dubb videos. Okay. So Dubb has to me revolutionized our prospecting. It's one of my top 5 tools that we use to get customers to notice us. And I want everyone to write this strategy down. So these are the 4 steps that we use in order to make our videos stand out. So number 1, disrupt the pattern. Number 2 is you make it personal. Number 3 is you teach them something. And number 4 is you call to action. Okay, so that's the system, right? DPTC. So disrupt the pattern, make it personal, teach them something, call to action. Disrupt the pattern, make it personal, teach them something, call to action. Okay, so from an NLP perspective, why do we want to disrupt the pattern? Well, it's because think about the noise that's out there, right? Think about how many people right now, are getting just a blanket email. So they get just a blanket email, and then all of a sudden you send a video. Well, you've disrupted the pattern. What if all of a sudden video becomes kind of the commonplace? Well, then you have to disrupt the pattern in the video to make yourself stand out. And I'm going to give you plenty of examples of that. So 1, just by using Dubb, you're disrupting the pattern. But I also want to future-proof you that in the event that Dubb becomes the thing, the norm, becomes the Kleenex and everyone uses, which I assume that's probably going to happen in the future, then how do you still stand out and be different? Well, let me show you a couple of ways that I disrupt the pattern myself, right? Number 1, so this is a Dubb video that I use, a Dubb campaign, and I'm just kind of being goofy here. My wife took a picture of me just kind of joking around in the elevator as soon as COVID hit on, me wearing this mask and so forth. So anyway, so this is the video that I sent. It's 1 minute and 22 seconds. And this is what I sent in a campaign that had a very, very high conversion rate. So check this out. Disrupt the pattern.
Hey, Jason Forrest here. I might not know how to put a mask on, but I absolutely do know how to drive profitable sales for you. We can do this through our recruiting service or our training service. We've actually disrupted the entire recruiting industry by combining a recruiting company, a training company, and an assessment company into one. We'll go out there and find a fearless sales warrior for you, use third-party assessments to make sure that they're better than half your existing team. And then we put them through our 90-day warrior selling training program, which is currently listed as the #1 sales training program in the United States, #2 in the world, beating out all the other sales training programs. If the recruit does not perform, we replace them for free. We can also train your existing salespeople to turn them from farmers and helpers to leaders and warriors. And of course, a phenomenal program called Leadership Sales Coaching, where we can teach your sales managers to be the Bill Belichick, Nick Saban, and Pete Carroll of coaching, which is also listed as the #1 leadership development program in the world right now by global gurus. So if you're interested in any of these services, I'd like to have a conversation with you about talking about your 2021 sales goals. Just message me back or schedule a time directly on my calendar below. All right, talk to you soon. Thanks.
Awesome. So you could see in that situation, right? So, I have my calendar link down here. And so people could obviously immediately put themselves on my calendar, which is great. And then also what Darius was talking about too, as far as earlier in that little preview, is he was showing how you can add follow-up videos. And so I have some follow-up videos in mine, in the sense of this video is the 5 mistakes of hiring and onboarding, which shows up. And then I have this warrior selling beliefs summary that shows up as well, afterwards that will hit them. And so we'll change it up with testimonials and, different things like that. So again, I want you to see that video, right? So #1, I disrupt the pattern. How did I disrupt the pattern? Well, I used a video, but I also had a meme of me, or a video of me with a mask on. And of course, it's like, what's Jason doing with this mask on his face, right? And then I disrupt the pattern by saying, I might not know how to wear a mask on, but I do know how to do this. And so I'm pinpointing it down, and then I teach them, right? I teach them specifically something new they haven't thought about before. And then of course, the call to action, right? Okay, so let me show you some other things. I hope this is helpful. I'm going to show you all the crazy things that I'm doing. And again, I know right now what you're thinking. Your leash is, because I work with sales execs all over the world, and they always tell me, this is nuts. Like, I'm not going to do this in my industry. Well, here's a cool story. I recently just had one of our biggest accounts is called Komatsu, the big commercial machines, And so I had the national account guys. I had them, my team, my training team, had them take selfie videos, right? So they took selfie videos and they sent them to their key prospects. And right then and there, out of the 7 people of national accounts, all but 1 got an immediate follow-up, and they closed like $1.6 million in machines just off of sending a selfie video to people. Well, why? Because it disrupts the pattern. It's different. It's unique, and they don't even have to be that good at it. You don't even have to be a professional speaker in order to do it. So let me show you some other examples that I'm doing that's just very low tech, but it's easy stuff, all right? So those of you who have an iPhone, you create your little emoji. This is the JFO emoji, okay? See JFO's emoji, right? What I did is I created an emoji of myself using Apple clips. And then from there, I added it to Dubb. And so I sent out this emoji of Jason Forrest, right? So that was one thing I did that, again, had a great conversion rate, disrupting the pattern, something different. And the entire video, by the way, was an emoji of me. So something different, okay? How about this one? This is another campaign that I did that I thought was a lot of fun. So I went to Hiresanta.com. Okay. So a good friend of mine owns Hiresanta.com. And I paid, I don't know, maybe it was like $100 for one of their Santas to read a script. So I had one of their Santas read a script, and you can see here in the video, right? Here's the Santa.
I was just taking a look at the naughty nice list and saw your name.
Isn't that great? So I had Santa read the script, and they texted me the video, right? So then I took the video and then I uploaded it into Dubb, and I created a personalized video on each one of them. Now it's very simple. You can do it in Dubb, or again, you can do it in Apple Clips. You can just upload the Santa video, and then right afterwards, I had a personalized video. So let's say I'm calling on Ruben, and all of a sudden, Ruben's going to get this Dubb video from me of Santa. Of course, he's going to click on it. Who doesn't click a video from Santa, And so have this in the Dubb video, and then all of a sudden, Santa says, the greatest things you can do is give yourself the gift of sales improvement. And then immediately I come on right afterwards and say, hey, Ruben, I was talking to Santa, and he told me that what you need more than anything else, you needed some additional recruiting and sales training over at Dubb. And so I wanted to get on the call with you and talk about how we can make that happen for you, teach them something, call to action, et cetera, right? So that's how I use Santa. Here's another one. This is just me in my own personal life, right? So once a week, my son and I we go boxing at the local boxing club. I had him take a video of myself boxing. And so I did the same thing, right? So I send a video of me boxing, and I add a little personal soundbite at the end of it. And that's another Dubb campaign. And so those are all ways you can disrupt the pattern. And so you just got to change it up a little bit, So disrupt the pattern is number one. Number two is you make it personal. And Dubb does all kinds of great things for that as far as adding their name to it, which is of course great. Some other ways that we've made it personal is in the video, sometimes I'll have like behind me, I'll have a laptop. In the laptop behind me, I'll have like their website, just so it shows like it adds like a personality, a personal touch to it. I've also done a Dubb video where I've shared my screen and I have like their LinkedIn profile like on the Dubb video. So again, when I send them a Dubb video, the picture is their LinkedIn profile. Who's not going to click a video that's got their own LinkedIn profile? So it's got their LinkedIn profile and then it's got my face. And I'm just talking to them, about whatever I noticed in their profile, right? So I'm matching and I'm pasting, I'm building rapport with what I noticed. And then I'm going for that next piece of teaching them something new. And then I'm doing the call to action, right? To get them on my calendar and kind of move forward with that. And then when it comes to teach, to me, the teach piece is, what are the 2 or 3 things that you can educate them on? So I'm going to teach you a really cool concept. And that is, when it comes to warrior selling, one of the things that we know from evidence is that customers are not looking for a faux friend. They're not looking for a faux friend from you. They're looking for an advisor. They're looking for someone that they mutually respect that can take them to a place they wouldn't go on their own. So the philosophy of warrior selling is that all human beings move away from pain and towards life improvement. And a sales warrior is on a mission to liberate them from any indecision. That's the philosophy. Well, one of the beliefs that we have is that your goal is not to be their faux friend. Your goal is to be their advisor and to earn their respect. And how you earn people's respect is you teach them something that they haven't thought of before. So what are some things that you can educate them or teach them on? So let me give you an example of that. One of the things that you can do is get Google alerts as far as like, with your different trends in your industries or just even economic data, right? And so here's a cool campaign that I did when it came to education, is that I did a Dubb campaign where I shared my screen and I had this really cool graphic that had the booms and the bust. Over the last 100 years, here's all the economic recessions and here's all the booms and the bust, right, throughout the times. And then what I did is I just walked them through it. I said, hey, I just want you to notice that this was back. I did this, by the way, in the beginning of 2020. And I said, right now, you might feel like we're in kind of a bust time, but I want you to notice a couple of things. Is that as soon as a bust happens, a boom immediately follows. And look at all the booms that have happened since the bust that have come. But the question I want you to ask yourself is, are you ready for the boom? And there's 2 ways specifically to make sure you're ready for the boom is, number one, you got to make sure you have the right salespeople on your team, enough salespeople. And number 2 is you got to make sure the salespeople are trained up and they're ready to be the warriors that you need them to be prepared for the future. And so either one of those things are important to you when it comes to either hiring more or making sure your warriors are ready for the boom to come, then book yourself directly on my calendar. So like that's another example, right? So I used a third-party graphic, shared my screen with them, and I just walked them through what the economics say. I took that and I tied that in to like my angle, like what I can actually do specifically. So is there a general outline that we can use in our sales video script specific to where people are in the buying process? Of course. Again, my general outline is disrupt the pattern, make it personal, teach them something, call to action. So that is my like high chunk, general outline. And then obviously the call to action is you have to do that, right? And the call to action is, so there's really 2 ways to get a hold of me right now. So shoot back an email and let me know a good time to talk, or you can book yourself directly on my calendar and we can start talking about blank. So again, disrupt the pattern, make it personal, teach them something, call to action is what you can do when it comes to creating, great videos. So with that, look, people are always wanting to know about the competition and what's really going on. So for example, let's say you take Google alerts on, the earnings release calls, right? And what the investor calls. And so you specifically hear what's going on. And then you do a quick summary where you're sharing what the competition is actually doing and what they're up to. Or you listen to the investor call from the CEO of the prospect that you're going after. So then again, you're sharing the specific information with them as far as what you heard from them that they're working towards and how you can position yourself. These are all things that, that I think are huge. Okay. So with that, all right, so let me take this thing up a notch for you. So one of the things that we teach in our program that's super important is what's called the Veto selling message. All right. So the Veto selling message, it's another kind of technique that we use. And so the Veto selling message is we want to veto the customer's current perspective. So you want to veto the customer's current perspective on what they think about you. So you want to carve out a unique niche in your customer's mind so that they see you differently. Veto stands for vision, example, teach, own. Vision, example, teach, own. So this could be a subset. So where would I put this? I would put this inside of the teach them something. So vision, example, teach, own could be a subset of like the category of what am I going to teach them, right? So what does this look like? Well, your vision is, again, what's unique about you? So right now, like, I want you to fill in the blank. The reason people choose us is when our founder decided to create our company, the goal was to disrupt blank. The vision of our founder was to be the best at blank and to disrupt blank. The problem they saw was blank in the marketplace. Okay, so that's the vision. E is for example or evidence. For example, let me share with you a story about how we helped XYZ business go from A to B. The 3 ways, okay, that's the teach part. The 3 ways that we helped XYZ go from A to B is number 1, number 2, number 3. And then the O stands for own. What this would look like for you is, or if you decided to work with us today, this is how it's going to work. That's the own. So I'm going to put it in their world. So again, vision, example, teach, own, right? The reason people choose us is our founder was trying to solve a real problem in the marketplace, wanted to disrupt so-and-so by doing blank. For example, let me share with you how we helped XYZ move from A to B. The way that we helped XYZ move from A to B is number 1, number 2, number 3. If you decide to move forward with us today, here's how it's going to work in your world. So that's another format or formula that you guys can use called the Veto. Again, the goal is how do you disrupt the customer's paradigm of how they see you? So how do you create a good veto? Well, first, I want you to think about who is your biggest competitor. And then immediately you want to create, okay, what makes you unique? What's your vision that makes you unique in comparison to the biggest competitor so you can challenge the perspective of people listening? Second question is, what's an example of how you've helped someone? Who is an example? Who's a case study? Really quick. And then if you were to break it down, what's the 2, 3, 4, 5 ways that you did that? And then own is, what does it look like in their world? Like if they were to start today, what is it going to look like? Okay. So that's the veto. And the veto to me is everything. The veto is everything, right? So like here's ours, right? So the vision of our company is to deliver the ultimate sales warrior. For example, 164 billion is spent every year on training, but 70% fails to achieve an ROI. I wrote a book many years ago called WTF, which clearly stands for Why Training Fails. And it points out how we've been able to be in the 30% to actually change behavior and deliver the ultimate sales warrior. There's 5 ways that we do that. Number 1, we only teach tactical how-based training. So many trainers out there tell you what to do and why to do it, but they don't tell you how to do it, which makes you feel, love you and leave you. You don't feel like you know how to do it. Number 2 is everything we do is mindset based. So it's not just about what to do and why to do it, but it's also what's holding you back from doing it. And there are these leashes, and there's a book that I wrote called The Mindset of a Sales Warrior. And there are these 4 types of leashes: the stories, self-image, reluctances, and rules that hold us back. The stories of, oh, people aren't going to do this during this time because of coronavirus, or maybe the self-image. I don't feel confident doing a selfie video like this or being goofy like this. Or maybe it's a rule of, I'll send something like this when I feel it's appropriate. Maybe it's a reluctance. I don't want to come across too pushy or too needy, so I'm not going to do it. The third way that we're able to change that behavior and deliver the ultimate sales warrior is everything we do is program based. I mean, you would never get on a Southwest Airlines with anyone that said, hey, this is Jason from Southwest Airlines. I just went to a 2-day seminar on how to fly a plane. And so just buckle up for safety. You would never do that. But why is it that we give salespeople millions of dollars in quota and then we give them a book to read or a seminar to attend and we say, I'm sure you'll be fine? So they deserve more. They deserve the very best. They deserve to be trained at the highest possible level, like the Navy SEALs. And number 4 is we teach managers how to be the Bill Belichick, Nick Saban, and Pete Carroll of coaching. Number 5 is our culture program to make sure the sales organization a place where people want to work, be a part of through compensation alignment, CRM alignment, and so forth. So the way this would work for you, Mr. Customer, is if you were to move forward today, is that we would immediately get started. Your people would go through a boot camp and they would get kicked off at a 2-day boot camp. They'd learn the process, mindset, and language of how the ultimate sales warrior. They'd go through a weekly program, 2 hours a week, where we refine their scripts, immediately apply it, field test it. Once the 6 weeks is over, they completely graduate and they go through another 2-day boot camp to learn prospecting for their 6 weeks after that. So I'm curious, I wonder, Mr. Customer, of the 5 ways that we do it differently, how does it compare to what you've done in the past? Okay, so that's an example of our Veto: vision, example, teach, and own And again, I wrote that specifically to be a little bit provocative. I want everyone to write this down. I want you going forward to be provocatively respectful. We are not going to call out any competitors by name, but I need you to write scripts that are provocative in the sense that they're edgy compared to what your competitors are doing. Like you specifically try to solve a problem and you've got a little edge to it. I want you to see yourself going forward as an advocate. Think about this right now, for example. Like just think about yourself, think about how many people right now, when it comes to being an advocate, right? An advocate is like a modern day protester. Think of these protesters out there, regardless of the charge, if you agree or disagree with the protesting concept on the left or right, don't worry about that. But just look at the idea of it, okay? The person who protests has such a conviction, such a belief system that says that what they believe matters, that they need to tell the entire world about it. And they're physically able to do it. Like they physically want to share with the world what they're all about. So they're an advocate for it, right? In order to be a phenomenal prospector, you have to be an advocate. And if you're not an advocate, then you need to figure out what's holding you back from being that. Maybe you need to go and look at the company that you're working with and do some research and figure out, okay, how can I sell myself first on what I'm offering? And why would I buy this? Why would I choose this? Why is this better than the competition? Why is the competition doing it wrong? Why are we doing it right? What's better about our version than everyone else's version, right? So you got to kind of figure all that out. And then you've got to create a veto around that. The unique problem, vision, right? The unique problem we're trying to solve is blank. This is how we're disrupting the marketplace. For example, when customers choose us, they realize blank. The 3 ways we're able to do that is number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, right? And then own. If you were to move forward with us, here's what that's going to look like. I just disrupted your pattern because my little lights went on. So I don't know what happened there. My lights went off. Okay.
I was going to say too, a video form of that veto is absolutely something you guys should have in your pocket. Like when someone who's already passed, hey, hi, John, I'm Darius. You're past that, but they don't know what you're all about. This veto message, having this in video form, I believe will be invaluable to anyone using video in their messaging. So I love the format here. I think there's a lot of value in that, the way that it's structured. So if you guys don't have a video like this, or worse yet, if you're not able to structure your veto, then you got some research to do, you got some homework to do, because you should absolutely know this thing from top to bottom. I'm like, as you're going through them here, I'm thinking about each of our bullets. And, for me, it's easy because I've been here since day one. So like the vision, all of it's kind of ingrained, but it's valuable to see too, how other people maybe don't have that because, you're not born with these things. You have to really learn them and adopt them and make them your own. So, awesome.
Well, it's interesting because, Darius, look, I'm about to give you guys a huge validation because I'm obsessed with always trying to find the most latest and greatest, sales tool out there. And we were big bomb people for a long time, It's interesting. You guys could easily create a veto around that, right? When Ruben, our founder, specifically created Dubb, he realized he wanted to disrupt the whole video email thing. And he realized here's the problem out there. There's only one company that was doing it. And here's how they were failing. You don't have to mention it by name, but here's what they were doing wrong. And here's how we want to disrupt that pattern, right?
And by that, we mean the Dubb team.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was like, Jason, we absolutely have done here. That's what I was saying. When you went through the list here, you talked especially the competitor piece. We have gone hard after that, right? Like we built a good chunk of business showing that, look, there's this space in the market. There's a lot of gaps, there's a lot of holes, and there's a lot of inefficiencies, and we're ready to plug them, and we're working hard to do so. So like I said, as you were presenting that, I was like, man, this is awesome, because this is it's validation, for what we've been doing as well. The whole structure of that argument, it's a cool thing to see from the leadership here. So,
and people want that, right? Again, I cannot stress enough that people, they need to understand, how do you fit into their world? What's unique and special and different about you? Why should they listen to you? Why should they care to listen to you, right? And so it's hey, Darius, did you ever see that? God, it was a great movie with Joaquin Phoenix called Walk the Line.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
That movie? Okay, so there's a scene. I want you guys all to Google the scene, right? So there's a scene in Walk the Line where Joaquin Phoenix, or the character, right? Johnny Cash, yeah. So Johnny Cash was going into the radio thing and he was trying the recording studio. And the guy said, "Look, you're trying to sing the same old song that everyone else sings. Do you have anything different, or is that all you got?" And he goes, "Can you go down into your soul and give me something unique and special that we can know who Johnny Cash is," right? Then all of a sudden, he gave him this amazing song and he wrote a contract, right? to me, that's like the perfect way to sum up this whole conversation we're having right now, is that, I want you to picture your prospect as that music producer, right? And I want you to think about the next email that you send out. Are they saying it's the same old song? Or you got anything different? Because I get 1,000 of these things a day, and I'm just going to delete them all. Give me something different that makes me want to click, and that's going to help me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Absolutely. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for attending today. Let's see you guys next time. Bye-bye.